He is known as the charismatic mafia leader Michael Corleone, as the blind tango dancer Lieutenant Colonel Frank Slade, and as a theater actor, screenwriter, and director. He is a brilliant and one-of-a-kind Al Pacino. Was he really thinking about quitting The Godfather? How did he get the nickname Sonny, and why did he boycott the Oscars? You are on the Biographer channel, and today we will tell you a century whose piercing gaze is known to the whole world. Make yourself comfortable and
say hello to my little friend!
Alfredo James Pacino was born on April 25, 1940 in the East Harlem area of New York, Manhattan. He was the first and only child of Sicilian Italian-American parents Rose Girardi and Salvatore Pacino. The child's grandparents were Sicilian immigrants who arrived in the United States in the early 20th century for a better life. His parents were young when they got married. Salvatore was from San Fratello and worked as an insurance agent, and Rose was a housewife. Unfortunately for Alfredo, the best life didn't always come easy. When he was 2 years old, his parents divorced. He stayed with his mother and they had to move to the South Bronx to live with Rose's parents, Italian immigrants from Corleone. Does this name remind you of anything? The father left to sell insurance services and be a restaurateur in Covina, California. The young Pacino was unlucky with his place of residence. In those years, the South Bronx was one of the most dangerous areas in the city. Alfredo's mother forbade him to go out on his own until the age of 7, but the environment still influenced him. He started drinking and smoking at 9 years old, and at 13, he accidentally used marijuana. Alfredo kept aloof from hard drugs since he knew what they could lead to. As he later said in an interview, addiction killed 2 of his closest friends, aged 19 and 30. Alfredo considered himself a lonely child. In such a gloomy childhood, the only thing that saved him was evening trips to the cinema with his mother. The next day, he happily retold the plot of the film he had watched to his grandmother. He was already drawn to the cinema, but Alfredo realized that only with time. It started when I was very young. I mean, really young. I wasn't let out much. I was kept in. And while I was home, I found myself repeating the roles from the movies I saw with my mother. Sometimes she'd take me to the movies when she came home from work. That was our date.
And my father, he was from the United States. Yeah, just like you know. He was a Yankee.
Alfredo soon began attending Herman Ritter Jr. High School. There, he fantasized about fictional stories and impersonated film characters. Because of that, he had the nickname Sonny, and some called him the actor. Pacino occasionally got into fights and was considered a troublemaker at school. He soon gave up most of his subjects except English. He had ambitions to become a baseball player, but the teachers, noticing the boy's acting skills, allowed him to try himself in school theater and entrusted him with reading passages from the Bible during the services. In many ways, it was the merit of his wonderful acting teacher, Blanche Rothstein.
Actually came to my house. We lived in the tenements, and she climbed 6 stories high to see my grandmother, because my grandmother raised me, and grandfather and mother raised me in the South Bronx. I didn't have a father present. So she went up to my apartment and talked to my grandmother and encouraged her to have me pursue acting. She thought that I should continue acting at 11, 12 years old.
Alfredo failed almost all of the exams, but thanks to acting, he passed the audition and subsequently entered the High School of Performing Arts. Rose didn't agree with her son's decision to become an actor, and after an argument, he left home. He had to finance his acting training himself. Pacino took low-paid jobs as a courier, waiter, cleaner, and postal employee, and also once worked in the post office of commentary. At the same time, he acted in the plays in New York's theatrical underground and took private lessons in acting skills. Sometimes Alfredo had nowhere to spend the night and had to sleep in the theater, on the street, or stay at friends' and girls' houses. Participation in that kind of play helped the actor to earn a symbolic amount of money. In early 1961, Pacino was arrested for 3 days. He was dressed in a black mask and gloves and suspiciously drove a car. So the police noticed him. He did not know how to drive at that time. The police searched the car and found a weapon hidden in the boot, and only after a while, it turned out that it was all theatrical props. At that age, Alfredo was rejected by the New York Actors Studio, but the savings were enough to join the Herbert Berghoff Studio Acting School. There, young Pacino met his acting teacher, British actor Charlie Laughton, who became his mentor and best friend. 1962 was a tragic year for Alfredo. Pacino's mother died of leukemia at the age of 43. In a later interview, he admitted that she made him what he became. Shortly after, in 1963, his maternal grandfather also died. Pacino recalled it as the lowest point in his life. I was 22, and the two most influential people in my life had gone, so that sent me into a tailspin. And finally, after 4 years at the Herbert Berghoff studio, he successfully auditioned for the Actors Studio, a membership organization of professional actors, theater directors, and playwrights. It really saved him. There, Alfredo studied the method of acting with talented theater director and acting coach Lee Strasberg. In later interviews, he talked about Strasberg and the studio's influence on his career. The Actors Studio meant so much to me in my life. Lee Strasberg hasn't been given the credit he deserves. Next to Charlie, it sort of launched me. It really did. That was a remarkable turning point in my life. It was directly responsible for getting me to quit all those jobs and just stay acting. He was very inspired to work with Lee. He found Strasberg incredibly interesting when he talked about the stage or people. Pacino said that he just wanted to hear him talk, because things he would say you'd never heard before. Strasberg understood and madly loved actors. Later, Alfredo would meet with Lee more than once on the set, and after almost 40 years, he would become co-president of the Actors Studio. But at that time, Alfredo felt depressed and had to play a lot of comedic roles and put on his own performances as a relief and therapy.
Because I was always acting, in a sense, being the clown or being the interpreter or the performer.
I don't see you as a clown.
Well, that's what I did the first part of my life, I did only comedy. I know, you see how funny I am? But I did it, yeah.
What kind of things?
Well, I wrote my own reviews and things, and I directed them, and I cast them, and I put them on, and
Where? I mean, professionally?
Yeah.
Where?
I mean, like in
Here?
the village, in some places in the village, yeah.
The little coffee houses?
Little coffee houses. I got a storefront and did it in a storefront and invited people.
How old were you?
It was early 20s, I guess from 23 to 26 I did that.
Just when he felt depressed, Alfredo's life gradually began to play with new colors, and he began to assert himself more and more loudly as an ambitious and talented actor. In 1967, Pacino began his career. He played a season at Boston's Charles Playhouse for $125 a week. That was his first substantial paycheck. He appeared in Clifford Odets' Awake and Sing and Jean-Claude Van Nathalie's America Hurrah. At the America Hurrah, he met actress Jill Clayburgh, who was 4 years younger than him. They had an affair that would last 5 years, and together the couple would return to New York. During that period, Pacino came up with his famous pseudonym, shortening the name to Al Pacino. In 1968, the actor became a member of Israel Horowitz's play The Indian Wants the Bronx at New York's Astor Place Theater. He played the role of a street punk named Murph. The play was shown 177 times. Israel Horovitz won the award for the Best New Play, and Pacino received the first award for his performance, the Obie Award for Best Actor. Once film producer Martin Bregman came to see the play, he liked Alfredo's acting so much that he decided to become the actor's manager. We can say that Pacino pulled out a lucky ticket since Martin was one of the best producers. Their partnership would become especially fruitful in the years to come, when Bregman offered him to play on several successful projects. About that acquaintance, Pacino said the following: Martin Bregman discovered me. I was 26, 25. He discovered me and became my manager, and that's why I'm here. I owe it to Marty. I really do. The production of The Indian Wants the Bronx made its way to Italy and was shown at the Festival dei Due Mondi, Festival of the Two Worlds, in Spoleto. It was Pacino's first trip to Italy. He called it an unforgettable experience. By the way, the performance was originally in a double billboard with Israel Horowitz's It's Called the Sugar Plum, where Clayburgh played. While the actors were together, her father sent money to the couple every month to help with the finances. And in November, both Pacino and Clayburgh were featured on the Deadly Circle of Violence episode of the ABC series NYPD. On February 25th the following year, the actor made his Broadway debut in Don Peterson's Does a Tiger Wear a Necktie at Belasco Theater. Pacino received rave reviews and was awarded a Tony Award. It is awarded for excellence in the live theater on Broadway, and Alfredo's achievements at that time were just beginning. In the 70s, Pacino continued to appear on the screen and received a second Tony Award for the play The Basic Training of Pavlo Hummel by David Rabi. He also played the lead role in the play Richard III by William Shakespeare, which he had long dreamed of.
What about the language, Al? Did you work on it at all? I mean, on the fact that it is Shakespearean language, and you've always worked in prose and modern contemporary.
I've always loved language. You see, I've always wanted to do a language play. I even found in the realistic plays I did, when I had enough to say, it would get my motor going. And I've always wanted to do that. I remember years ago just going over soliloquies of Hamlet and Macbeth, and just doing them in my room or anywhere I could. When I did scenes in acting class, I would usually pick scenes that were from Shakespeare. I just love the word. I've always loved it. And I've never had an opportunity.
He would play in the theater in the 80s and beyond, and receive a Drama Desk Award nomination for David Mamet's American Buffalo. Alfredo found acting enjoyable and realized that he had a gift for it. But his favorite business still did not bring him sufficient financial profit. After appearing in the episode NYPD in 1969, Pacino made his full film debut. He had a minor role in the comedy drama Me, Natalie, starring Patty Duke. The next year, Pacino signed a contract with the talent agency Creative Management Associates and added the work with Martin Bregman. Alfredo's career skyrocketed. In 1971, Alfredo appeared on the screen in the drama The Panic in Needle Park. He played his first lead role as a young heroin addict, Bobby, who fell in love with a woman named Helen, and their lives went downhill. It's funny that the main candidates for this role were originally him and Robert De Niro, with whom in the future they would meet more than once in life and become good friends. It is worth noting that the actors have known each other for a long time, almost from the beginning of work in the cinema.
We met long before we ever got well known.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, we met, I'll never forget it, 14th Street.
Yeah.
Huh? On 14th Street, he and I, we shared some friends together, and while I was walking, we're walking toward, I think it was First Avenue or something. Yeah. I saw Bob coming the other way, and he happened to know the people I was with, and they introduced us.
In the meantime, the director chose Pacino for the role, and De Niro was very upset. Thanks to the film and Bregman, one major director, Francis Ford Coppola, noticed Al Pacino. From that moment on, the actor began his minute of glory, which, thanks to his dedication and efforts, would continue for many years. Francis Ford Coppola invited Pacino to play the role of Michael Corleone in the mafia film The Godfather. The film promised to be a major adaptation of the Mario Puzo novel of the same name, with whom the studio had previously signed a contract. In addition to Alfredo, Marlon Brando, James Caan, Richard Castellano, Robert Duvall, Diane Keaton, and others starred in the film. The plot chronicled the relationships in the Corleone family under patriarch Vito Corleone, played by Brando. Pacino played the role of his son, who went from being an unwanted family outsider to a ruthless mob boss.
What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here now.
I'm Michael Corleone. This is my father. There's nobody here. What happened to the guards?
According to Pacino, the tears in Marlon Brando's eyes are real in the scene when Michael swears allegiance to his father. Brando and Pacino were Coppola's first choices for their roles, although Alfredo was considered too short by the producers. During the auditions, the director rejected such actors as Jack Nicholson, Dustin Hoffman, Robert Redford, and the slightly lesser-known De Niro at the time. The latter, however, was cast for other roles, but as a result, he dropped out of the project in favor of another film. Al treated Brando with respect because he felt the energy emanating from the Hollywood star, and to some extent, it was Marlon Brando who supported Pacino's candidacy.
That kind of sensitivity where he can sort of feel you, he feels your stuff, and he gets very concerned. He was concerned about me because at the time there was so much controversy, and that I was going to.
This is after Godfather?
No, it was before, while we were shooting it.
He was concerned about you.
Because he came up to me once and just was doing my shoulders, just doing a little massage on my shoulders, because he knew that I was going to go. I was a man that didn't have long left for the set, because Francis wanted me. The studio didn't.
Right.
They didn't want Brando either.
During rehearsals, Coppola instructed the actors to sit down at the table for a family dinner during breaks without leaving their stage image. Thus, the director helped them get used to family relationships in the shot. The schedule was tight. For example, only 2 days were allotted for shooting a wedding. Coppola told the actors to play freely and improvise to give the scene a sense of reality. On the set, real chaos reigned, because of which Pacino and Diane Keaton even thought about leaving. We started drinking and we were just talking about, where do we go from here? We're done. It's the worst film ever made. Fortunately, Alfredo soon changed his mind and remained in the project. By the way, by that time, the actor's previous relationship had ended, and a new affair began with Diane Keaton. Their relationship lasted only 2 years. In the meantime, to everyone's surprise, the film turned out to be extremely successful. Critics were delighted and showered the project with praise, positive reviews, and various awards. It was only the second film of Pacino's career, and had already earned him his first Golden Globe and Academy Award nominations. True, the actor boycotted the Academy Awards ceremony as he did not agree with the nomination for the Supporting Actor Award. According to him, he had more screen time and a more important role than Marlon Brando, who was nominated for Best Actor and won as a result. In fairness, we want to say that Marlon also boycotted this ceremony, but for his reasons. And if you want to know more about the life of a legend who has gone through all the milestones of Hollywood, click on the pop-up card in the corner and watch a video about the talented Marlon Brando.
For a while. Yeah? Al, did the role of Michael Corleone follow you?
Oh, yeah. Yes, it did. For years.
Of course, after such a success, the film received a sequel, and already in 1974, it was released on the screens. Pacino again played the role of Michael, and De Niro, nevertheless, joined the cast. He replaced Brando in the role of Vito Corleone in the prequel story. Also, Lee Strasberg played in the film, from whom, as we remember, Pacino took lessons. In 1973, Pacino played in the road film Scarecrow, along with the outstanding Gene Hackman. The film tells the story of the relationship between two men from California, planning to start a business in Pittsburgh. It was shot by Jerry Schatzberg, who had already worked with Pacino on The Panic in Needle Park. Since Alfredo was a proponent of the method of acting, he and Hackman put on costumes and pretended to be beggars in San Francisco to understand his characters. However, he found his techniques to be at odds with those of Hackman, who preferred to remain silent before filming. Later, Pacino confessed. It wasn't the easiest working with Hackman, who I love as an actor. And although the film was not very successful at the box office, he took the highest award at the 1973 Cannes Film Festival, Grand Prix du Festival International du Film, and eventually gained cult status. Pacino's talent didn't go unnoticed either, winning the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. The same year, Pacino starred in the neo-noir biographical crime drama directed by Sidney Lumet Serpico, based on the true story of New York City police officer Frank Serpico. The film detailed Serpico's struggles with corruption in the New York City Police Department during his 11 years of service, as well as his work as a whistleblower that led to the investigation by the Knapp Commission. Martin Bregman joined the cast as a producer and suggested Al Pacino for the role.
Hey, I'm a police officer! Police officer! I'm an officer! I'm a police officer! Jesus, Frank, how was I supposed to recognize you? You stupid... Frank, I didn't know you! You didn't know me! You fired without looking?
He spent the night with the cops, but decided it wasn't enough to prepare for Serpico. The method actor felt he needed to spend more time with the real Serpico and met him several times in Montauk, New York, where he rented a house for summer. At the same time, the production time was limited because Pacino had to start work on The Godfather Part 2 soon. Pacino was moved by Serpico's urging to reform the NYPD, and it made him even more interested in the project. Al often walked in character uniform around dangerous areas of the city. He became so accustomed to the image that one day, standing in a traffic jam, the actor tried to arrest a truck driver as he was enraged by exhaust fumes.
Yeah, I'm in the back of a taxi, and I see this truck in front of me, and the truck is shooting out this black stuff, this black smoke, like they gas it out, and it's like, they used to do that, the carbon, whatever they call it. And it's all over the place. I just loathe that. It bothers me. As a New Yorker, it bothers me that we got to walk around in that crap, So I said to this guy, I just said to the cab driver, pull up in front of that truck. Pull up. Get up in front of that truck, please. Will you just get up in front of the cab of that truck? So he goes in. I wonder what the hell's going on. He goes right in the front of it. I pull out. my gold shield badge, my detective badge. And I said, hey, you, fucker, pull over.
And once he was denied service at a Manhattan restaurant because of the look he kept for a film. The movie was filmed in reverse to depict scenes with Alfredo's facial hair. Pacino wore a long beard and hair, he was shaved down to a mustache, then had his hair cut, and was eventually clean-shaven at the film's beginning. Every day, Lumet decided whether to continue to shave Pacino, and the team prepared false beards for him just in case.
I want you to keep your mustache. And I'd like you to patrol in your own car, wear whatever you want. How does that strike you?
I like that.
The film was a commercial and critical success, but it still caused some criticism from the police. But the scandal did not come, and the film was nominated for an Oscar and a BAFTA. Pacino received an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor and won a Golden Globe Award. A year later, the sequel to The Godfather was released on the big screens. At that time, Pacino's fee was already $500,000. By the way, initially, Coppola got tired of filming the first part and wanted Martin Scorsese to shoot the second film, but the studio rejected his candidacy. Coppola had to direct the film himself, and the sequel turned out to be extremely successful. The film was the first sequel to win an Oscar for Best Picture. Al Pacino was nominated for an Oscar for the third time. Moreover, it was the second nomination for the role of Michael Corleone, but in the main category.
Don't tell me nothing. Anthony's fine. Anthony is not fine.
I don't want to hear about it.
You will.
I don't want to hear about it.
Anthony's fine.
I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it. Over!
Then Sidney Lumet, who worked with the actor on Serpico, invited Al to play in his new biographical crime drama film, Dog Day Afternoon. At that time, he was able to play the role of Sonny Wartzik, a character based on the real-life bank robber John Wojciechowicz. It was another successful project that Martin Bregman had a hand in.
I don't want to talk to somebody who's trying to calm me. Get somebody in charge here.
I am in charge.
I don't want
here.
to talk to some flunky pig trying to calm me, man.
You don't have to be calling.
What's he
pig.
doing?
When you get back
what
over there?
What are you moving in there for?
When you
What's
get the
doing?
fuck back there, get back there.
What's he doing? Look at him with him. Get over there. Go back there, man. Get over there, will ya? He wants to kill me so bad he can taste it.
I'm always going to kill you.
Pacino refused several times and agreed to the role, arguing that he wanted to return to the theater or not arguing at all. Bregman explained it by saying that Pacino used the game method and perhaps this was a world he did not want to explore. Moreover, the story suggested some character changes, and the actor said he would never make the adjustment necessary for the movies. Finally, he returned to the project and explained his behavior with stress, drunkenness, and the fact that he needed a life outside of work. Most of the cast consisted of people with whom Pacino had acted in Broadway plays. The film was shot in the cold autumn, although, in reality, the events took place in the summer. This is a fairly common occurrence, so that in the scenes filmed on the street, the actors did not see steam from their mouths. They first put ice in their mouths, literally freezing it. The director also allowed passers-by and people living in the neighborhood to participate in the filming of extras, and after a couple of weeks, hundreds of extras gathered near the bank where the film was shot.
Now, fellas, you gotta pay attention. I said guns down. Guns down. The guns have already gone down. That's for everybody.
Would you like to take part in such shootings? Write in the comments which film and with which actor you would like to star together. We are happy to read all the comments and like the most interesting ones. The film crew wanted to recreate this story, so the approach was top-notch. They had 3 weeks of rehearsals, created bank structures with the ability to move walls, and immersed Pacino in character. The actor was filmed non-stop, so the camera was not paused between takes to create the kind of newsreel that TV reporters shoot. Pacino himself recalled, "I thought basically that the most important thing to capture was the human conflict, the human cry, the human need, and to tap that. To try to find that somehow and convey it in this bizarre situation was what we were trying to do." The result of the film crew's work was highly appreciated by critics, who noted the excellent work of the director Sidney Lumet and Al Pacino's acting talent. In addition, the film has been interpreted as anti-authoritarian and establishment-defying, earning it the title of culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant by the Library of Congress. The picture received 6 nominations for the Oscar and 7 for the Golden Globe, among which were the nominations for Pacino, but the only award he took home was Best Actor in a Leading Role at the 29th British Academy Film Awards. Sidney Lumet, who directed the actor in the hugely successful Serpico and Dog Day Afternoon, tried to explain Pacino's magic. Everything stems from some incredible core inside of him. I wouldn't think of trying to get near it because it would be like getting somewhere near the center of the earth. What comes out of his core is so uniquely his own. The next project in the wake of Al Pacino's success was the romantic drama film Bobby Deerfield, directed by Sidney Pollack. It was based on the 1961 Eric Maria Remarque novel Heaven Has No Favorites. The actor played the lead role of the famous American racer Bobby Deerfield, who falls in love with the mysterious Swiss Lillian Morelli, played by Martha Keller. Pacino began a new relationship with Keller. It lasted long enough, but there was no wedding again. The couple remained good friends and communicated after the breakup. Bobby Deerfield was not a commercial and critically successful film. However, Pacino's acting performance was again recognized by giving him the 1978 Golden Globe Award nomination for Best Motion Picture Actor. In the next project, the legal comedy drama And Justice for All, Alfredo again played with his mentor Lee Strasberg.
So, it's another week already. Another week. I don't know where time goes.
No problems, Grandpa. Everything all right?
Pacino played the honest lawyer Arthur Kirkland, who had to defend the guilty judge Henry T. Fleming, with whom he has a personal conflict. For the role, the actor received $1 million. Did he deserve such an assessment of his work? Yes, he did. The film has one striking, iconic scene.
Then something really wrong is going on. Mr. Kirkland, you are out of order! You're out of order! You're out of order!
Pacino practiced the scene in the courtroom 26 times. Critics praised his efforts and called it one of the best speeches and monologues in cinema. With a budget of $4 million, the film grossed $33.3 million at the box office. Pacino has been praised for a wide range of acting skills, receiving a second Golden Globe nomination and a fourth Academy Award for Best Actor. But victory slipped away from Alfredo when he lost to Dustin Hoffman at the Oscars for his role in Kramer vs. Kramer, which he had previously refused.
And the winner is Dustin Hoffman in Kramer vs. Kramer.
Pacino refused projects more than once, which later would become quite successful. Instead, the actor has played in several not very successful films. The successful 70s were replaced by the failed 80s. In 1980, the controversial crime thriller Cruising, directed by William Friedkin, was released, which succumbed to colossal criticism. That's because based on the novel of the same name by New York Times reporter Gerald Walker, he tells the story of a serial killer who preys on gay people. The name Cruising alone describes both police officers on patrol and men who are cruising for sex. Throughout filming and release, the film was harassed by gay rights protesters who believed it was stigmatizing them. People tried to interfere with filming by aiming mirrors from rooftops to ruin lighting, blowing whistles and horns near locations, and playing loud music. 1,000 protesters marched through the East Village, demanding the city withdraw its support for the film. As a result, the sound was overdubbed to cover up the noise from protesters. Al Pacino claimed to understand the protests, but after reading the script, he never once felt that the film was anti-gay. According to him, he never wanted to do anything to harm the gay community. Alfredo and the director visited several clubs before filming began. As a result, the film was initially rated X. Friedkin had to remove almost 40 minutes of footage before receiving an R rating. According to the director, the deleted scenes contained footage from clubs. Absolutely graphic sexuality. That material showed the most graphic homosexuality with Pacino watching, and with the intimation that he may have been participating. Audiences and critics hated the film, and they appreciated the next picture of Pacino no better. While working on the autobiographical film Author, directed by Arthur Hiller, the actor did not find a common language with the director. Sometimes people who are not really meant to be together get together in this business for a short time. It's very unfortunate for all parties concerned. Perhaps because of that, critics thought the film tried its best to please everyone. However, Pacino was not upset and managed to return to the theater for a short time and started work in Brian De Palma's Scarface. The crime drama is based on a novel of the same name and tells the story of a Cuban refugee, Tony Montana, who, penniless, becomes a powerful and deadly Miami drug lord. Al was working with his old friend. When he saw Scarface 1932 with producer Martin Bregman, he became interested in making a remake. Director Sidney Lumet was hired to direct the film, but was replaced by De Palma, who also discussed making the film with De Niro.
We were on the street one night outside of Cafe Central or something, and you were... I thought, this is how I remember, I could be wrong. We were talking about Scarface, and you were considering who to do it, what director. And I was saying, you should really do it with Brian, of the choices that you had. I said, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it, because I want to do it.
Even though the film events take place in Miami, it was filmed in Los Angeles due to the Miami Tourism Development Council turning down filming requests. The council feared that the film, with its themes of drugs and gangsters, would reduce the level of tourism in the city. Tony's luxurious mansion was El Feridas, a Roman-style mansion near Santa Barbara, California. The actor's film partner was the rising star Michelle Pfeiffer, but at first, Pacino was against her candidacy. Auditions for the young actress lasted 2 months, and Al did not like her. When it came to a screen test of the restaurant scene, Michelle recalled,
kind of freak out at the end.
Yeah.
And
Trash the place.
I threw dishes and everything went flying.
Yes.
And I broke things.
That's how you
cut.
do it.
I was in it.
Yes.
And there was blood everywhere.
What?
And everyone comes running over to me, checking me out for blood. Where am I cut? They're not finding anything. There are no cuts on me. I look over and Al is bleeding.
Oh no! Oh my gosh! You cut Al Pacino?
I cut Al Pacino.
Oh my gosh!
As a result, Pacino agreed to work with Pfeiffer. They got to talking and eventually became good friends. Production stopped twice due to bad weather conditions in California. In addition, during the filming of a fight scene, Pacino tripped and burned his left hand with the muzzle of a pistol from which he had just been fired. Production was halted for a week while the actor was on the mend. For the film, Al Pacino studied the Cuban accent. After learning the word yayo, he adopted it as slang for coconut. Tony Montana uses it in the chainsaw scene. Brian De Palma enjoyed it so much that he decided to use the word throughout the film.
Chichi, get the yayo.
Although there has long been a myth that Pacino snorted real drugs on camera, in fact, either milk powder or powdered sugar served as props. Subsequently, it caused problems for Al's nasal airways. For years after, I've had things up in there. I don't know what happened to my nose, but it's changed. Interesting fact. The shootout scene at the end of the film includes a shot filmed by Steven Spielberg, who was visiting the set at the time. Spielberg and De Palma have been friends ever since they started making studio films in the mid-1970s, and they have developed a habit of dropping by on set. At the end of filming, the film received an X rating 3 times and was cut 3 times by the director due to its cruelty and the themes it raised. It did not help, and Bregman and De Palma had to file an appeal with the studio. The commission overturned the decision in favor of the R rating. However, the director suggested that if the third version of the film received an R rating, the very first version should also receive that rating. Since he believed that the studio management would not know the differences between all 3 versions, he released the first film version to cinemas. De Palma admitted to that only a few months after the film's release.
Well, Mal, maybe you can handle yourself one of them first-class tickets to the resurrection. Fucking punk. Son of a bitch. So long, Mal. Have a good...
Upon release, the film became another work by Pacino, which was met with negative reviews by many critics, mainly because of its cruelty. But the audience, in turn, was pleased with the film, and soon it was in many tops. The American Film Institute recognized its significance and included it in the list of the best villains, quotes, and genre films. Scarface has gained cult status and has been repeatedly cited in films and music even now. For the role, Al Pacino was nominated for the Golden Globe Award as the Best Actor. According to him, Tony Montana is one of his favorite characters among all those he has played.
I felt that what I started out trying to do with that character, make that character in a way, and this sounds strange, I know, but I picked the 2 dimensions, not 3 dimensions for this character. This side and that side. And I went with, sort of tried to go with the glow, and say this is it, this is what you see, and I didn't try to go into another area with it, and so I felt in terms of that I might have succeeded.
In 1983, Pacino became a major sponsor of the Mirror Theater Ltd. Along with Dustin Hoffman and Paul Newman, he received the Lawrence Rockefeller Grant. The actors were spurred to invest by an association with Lee Strasberg, as his daughter-in-law, Sabra Jones, founded the Mirror Theater. She was also a producing artistic director. A couple of years later, Pacino offered the company his production of Huey by Eugene O'Neill, but the company could not organize it due to the small number of actors. In 1985, Pacino worked on his own project, an adaptation of the 1969 off-Broadway production by Heathcote Williams, The Local Stigmatic. He played the lead role. In addition, Al invested a lot of his money in the project and acted as a producer, and David F. Wheeler became the director. Alfredo remade the production into an hour-long film, but its presentation took place only 5 years later at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. The film was never released in cinemas, instead being released on DVD in 2007 as part of the Al Pacino box set. The local stigmata greatly spoiled the actor's financial situation. In the meantime, the next film after Scarface for Al was the British historical drama Revolution, directed by English director Hugh Hudson. The plot was about a fur trapper, Tom Dobb, during the American Revolutionary War.
No more! It's not far. It's not far. No!
The film, with a budget of $28 million, was a box office failure, grossing only $358,000. Critics tore it to shreds. Pacino blamed the hasty production for the failure, and the critics blamed him. Revolution received 4 Golden Raspberry Award nominations, including Pacino's Worst Actor. For him, it was a blow. It would knock Alfredo out of the cinema for 4 years and return him to his theater. According to Alfredo, the decision to take a break from the cinema was spontaneous. He was dissatisfied with some of his work, so he sought solace in alcohol and returned to the theater. But in addition to acting, he directed Crystal Clear, National Anthems, and other plays. In 1988, Pacino appeared in the play Julius Caesar. Theater producer Joseph Papp screened the historical play by William Shakespeare at the New York Shakespeare Festival. Then, describing his leaving the cinema, the actor said, "I remember back when everything was happening, 74 or 75, doing the resistible rise of Arturo Ui on stage and reading that the reason I'd gone back to the stage was that my movie career was waning. That's been the kind of ethos, the way in which theater's perceived, unfortunately." 1989 was an important one for Pacino. All the time, the avid bachelor was never married, but on October 16, 1989, the actor became a father for the first time. Al had a daughter who was named Julie Marie Pacino. The girl's mother was Jan Tarrant, a stage art teacher with whom Pacino had a short-term affair. To be more precise, their relationship ended almost immediately after the birth of their daughter. In an interview, Pacino, asked about marriage, answered the following.
Well, it would be whatever they say, a sort of a mutual kind of agreement of a sort in terms of how we would live, because my lifestyle is one that's erratic and different, and I would hope that if I married someone that they would be aware of that, and that our lifestyles would be able to mesh.
But even though the actor did not want to be a husband, he gladly became a father and took up the upbringing of Julia. He helped in every possible way and repeatedly saved his daughter when she began to get into various troubles in life. He liked those moments of fatherhood, which he spoke about with a sincere smile in an interview.
3 years old is the most heavenly age.
It's the Batman age.
The Batman
Yeah.
age? What's it like for you to have a child? Has it
It's
changed
different.
your
The
life?
thing
Now,
is
let
that
me
it does
put
change.
that way.
It changes everything. Yeah. I mean, right now I'm thinking about it. What I did this. So I got a call from my kid this morning. She called me to tell me she was going to go to school today. It changes, the way you think about everything.
Is she adorable?
Yeah.
The actor immediately rushed to the rescue when the grown-up daughter was stopped due to drink driving, and perhaps thanks to him, Julia took up her mind. Her name ceased to appear in the scandalous chronicles. She, like her father, chose a profession related to cinema and became a film producer. In addition to fatherhood, in 1989, Pacino returned to the cinema screens in the neo-noir thriller Sea of Love. It was the 4th film made with Martin Bregman. The plot was based on Richard Price's novel Ladies' Man. The story is about New York City detective Frank Keller, played by Pacino, on the hunt for a serial killer who finds victims in a newspaper column for lonely people. Interestingly, during filming in the city center, many passers-by recognized the actor and turned around, throwing surprised glances at him. There is one interesting moment in the film that the film director Harold Becker did not plan. Filming took place on 5th Avenue. According to the script, Pacino's character was trying to court Ellen Barkin, and they were walking side by side when suddenly,
Got offered a job in York, Pennsylvania, police department. They want me to head this huge, break up this huge counterfeit produce ring. Hey, listen, this is fantastic, no? Look.
That was not in the script, and Pacino was pushed not by an extra, but by a real New Yorker. However, the actor did not interrupt the scene but continued to play without wasting a second. the director liked it so much that he decided to keep this take. The film received positive reviews from critics, and the audience seemed to miss Al Pacino because the box office was excellent. With a budget of $19 million, the film grossed almost $111 million. Al was again nominated for the Golden Globe Award for Best Performance in a Drama, but lost to Tom Cruise with his Born on the 4th of July. His success was partly due to Diane Keaton, with whom he lived. She persuaded him to take on The Sea of Love. His financial situation over the past 10 years has been less than ideal, and tax problems have been added due to the unreleased The Local Stigmatic. He stopped being an A-list actor, but heeded by Keaton's recommendation, he agreed to a successful script and recollected at the box office, thanks to which he stayed not far from the top of Hollywood. Pacino entered the new decade with the spectacular role of Big Boy Caprice in the action crime comedy Dick Tracy. The film was directed by Warren Beatty, who has also acted as a producer and starred in it. It was an adaptation of the comic book of the same name. Madonna became Alfredo's partner on the set, but many other famous actors also participated in the project. Pacino was the first contender for the role of Big Boy Caprice, although the second after him was the eternally haunting fellow Robert De Niro. Although it was hard to find a female lead, Madonna was willing to replace anyone, just to act for the sake of growing popularity. The salary of the singer was only $35,000. The film turned out to be successful and collected a good box office of $162 million. Famous film critic Roger Ebert called Pacino a scene stealer, and the actor was nominated for an Academy Award and a Golden Globe.
No pals in this business, Lips. You taught me that. Sign it.
The deed to the Club Ritz?
That's right. I'm going into show business now.
The same year, Pacino starred in the third part of the Godfather trilogy, The Godfather Part 3. He reunited with director Francis Ford Coppola and starred Andy Garcia and Diane Keaton. But the filming process was not easy. Some actors from the first two parts left the project. Because of that, parts of the script were rewritten again. Well, as usual, the filming lasted almost a year. Although The Godfather 3 was not as well received as the previous two, Pacino's performance as the older and more controversial Michael Corleone was widely praised. He was again nominated for a Golden Globe and received a fee of $5 million. It was rumored that initially, Pacino asked $7 million, but the director threatened to start the film with a scene of his funeral, and the actor agreed to a smaller amount.
Michael, you've done a wonderful thing for Sicily.
Well, let's just hope that the money gets to the people who need it.
Amen.
After the film's release, his on and off relationship with Diane Keaton finally ended. Obviously, the actress was tired and gave Al an ultimatum: a wedding or a breakup. Fans who know the actor well understand what he has chosen. Years later, Keaton admitted in an interview that she chose not the best way to talk about the wedding. She recalled Pacino with bitterness. Al was simply the most entertaining man. To me, that is the most beautiful face. I think Warren Beatty was gorgeous, very pretty, but Al's face is like, whoa, killer face. It is interesting that the role of the Godfather, the first project that gave Pacino great fame, became his stock character. In some ways, it traces in Dick Tracy and reminds us of itself in Glengarry Glen Ross and the crime drama Carlito's Way. But still, Al can hardly be called an actor of one role. So, the following year, Pacino appeared on the screen in the romantic comedy drama Frankie and Johnny. The film was directed by Gary Marshall. Pacino played the role of a recently released chef who starts a relationship with a waitress at a cafe where they work together. The role of the waitress went to Michelle Pfeiffer, with whom Pacino played for the first time since Scarface, where she was already his partner. Interesting fact: Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country was filmed in a neighboring studio pavilion. When the director needed to bring genuine surprises to Al Pacino's face, he invited William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, and DeForest Kelley to the set. Performers roles Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. The scene was set up in such a way that when Pacino opened the door, he saw the actors appearing completely in their images off screen. The viewer saw Michelle Pfeiffer.
Is it on?
Well, not yet, you can't just put it on.
The film received very positive reviews from critics and viewers. They praised Pacino and Pfeiffer's performance, and were happy to see the actor in a more positive role after several dark characters. Pacino admitted that he liked the role, and Janet Maslin of the New York Times wrote, "Mr. Pacino has not been this uncomplicatedly appealing since his Dog Day Afternoon days. And he makes Johnny's endless enterprise in wooing Frankie a delight. His scenes alone with Miss Pfeiffer have a precision and honesty that keep the film's maudlin aspects at bay." In 1992, Pacino starred in the Martin Brest drama film Scent of a Woman. He He played an irritable, blind, retired lieutenant colonel who took Chris O'Donnell's young man under his wing and showed him what joy was in life. Pacino initially turned down the lead role. Jack Nicholson, Harrison Ford, Dustin Hoffman, and Joe Pesci were considered to replace him, but on the advice of his agent from the actor's studio, Pacino reluctantly accepted the role. Al later gave him credit for making him rethink his decision. By the way, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Brendan Fraser, Dante Basco, and Chris Rock also auditioned for the role of Pacino's partner on the set.
Are you ready? This is not Panmunjom. A simple yes will do. Good. Here you go. Come on. Hop to, son. You're in front of me.
Al carefully prepared before filming and diligently approached the study of his role. To understand what it was like to be blind, he met with clients of the New York social organization Associated Blind, especially interested in those who lost their vision due to trauma. Clients told him all the progress from the moment when they knew they would never see to depression, acceptance, and adaptation. The Lighthouse Guild, a sight restoration and advocacy charity, also trained Pacino in methods a blind person can find a chair, sit down on their own, pour liquid from a bottle, and light a cigar. And about the use of hoo-wah, the actor said the following.
Hoo-wah came from this guy was teaching me how to load and unload a 45 blind. And there's a lot of little things you gotta learn. So I was forever having practice with this guy, teaching me how to do it. And it was a real lieutenant colonel, this guy. And every time it came to, I would do something good, say a little good, he would go, hoo-wah. And so I'd do something, that's it, hoo-wah. And then I said, what is that? He says, oh, that's what we do when you do some hoo-wah with the troops going along. I thought, I gotta use that. That comes from heaven, that stuff. When you get it shot like that, that's great.
Filming was not without interesting moments. Al Pacino and Gabrielle Anwar rehearsed their tango for 2 weeks and filmed the scene for 3 days. And it was worth it. Their tango has become a cult. And the scene on the street where Pacino falls on the trash can was actually unplanned. Al, a true method actor, often remained in character off-set, walking with a cane and never looking at anyone when spoken to. Interestingly, the scene where Frank and Charlie are having dinner at the Plaza Hotel includes footage of Donald Trump. However, they were cut before the picture was released, as Chris O'Donnell admitted in an interview.
We pulled up in a limo, and Pacino and I left, and then another car pulled up, and it was Donald Trump, and Marlon Maples walked out and went in, and cut, and that was it.
Pacino's acting was strong, earning him critical acclaim and solidifying his status as a Hollywood icon. He again received nominations for Oscar and Golden Globe Awards, but that time, he finally took both the Globe and the Academy Award for Best Actor. Pacino went to it for a long time and really deserved it. For the first time, the hall didn't stop applauding for a long time. As a guest on Inside the Actor's Studio, Al Pacino told host James Lipton how he experienced an awkward moment in a crowded elevator after receiving his first Oscar. The fact was that Pacino did not know that the head of his figure touched the ass of a famous actress. When she turned around, Pacino quickly explained that it wasn't his fault, but his Oscar, who was responsible for her discomfort. Interestingly, the same year, the actor was nominated for an Oscar and a Golden Globe in the Best Supporting Actor category for Glengarry Glen Ross. In the film, he played the role of one of the 4 real estate salesmen and head office clerk, Richard Roma. Thus, Pacino became the first actor to receive 2 acting nominations in 2 films in 1 year and win an award for the lead role. So it seems that the period of stagnation has passed. As for alcohol, Pacino hasn't been drinking for a long time. He has reduced his drinking compared to his unsuccessful period a few years ago, although he did not completely stop drinking. Later, in an interview with Larry King, to the question, how did he manage to overcome alcoholism? Al philosophically answered, well, I didn't defeat it. One doesn't look at it that way. All I can say is, I'm never sober. I don't want to be sober. I just don't drink. The following year, Martin Bregman again invited Pacino to play in Brian De Palma's film. Together with Sean Penn and Penelope Ann Miller, Al played in the crime drama film Carlito's Way. He performed Nuyorican criminal Carlito Brigante, who intended to reform and retire in paradise. However, he finds it difficult to escape from his criminal past and finds himself caught up in the same events again. Nuyoricans are generally considered New York Puerto Ricans. For the image of the former mafioso, the actor received $6 million.
It's a dream, Dave. You got a dream, baby.
I know. Hey, you got it all worked out, Carlito. Here's to you.
Pacino signed to Carlito's Way immediately after the Oscar-winning Scent of a Woman. To get into character, Pacino visited East Harlem with the author of the original novel and tried to explore its sights and soak up the atmosphere. The actor first imagined Carlito with a ponytail, but after visiting Harlem, he quickly realized that such a hairstyle was rare among local men. Instead, he came up with the idea of having a beard, and the black leather cloak fits in well with the old decor. Pacino wanted to make this film back in the 70s after reading a novel by ex-judge and author Edwin Torres. The process dragged on, and the actor, instead of Kleinfeld, could already play the role of Carlito due to his age. Carlito's Way was followed by the novel After Hours. Bregman and Pacino agreed that the film should be based largely on the second novel. The script was written over 2 years. On the set, Pacino had difficulty with one of the actors, George Porcel, who played the owner of a club named Sasso, starred in 50 films in Argentino, and did not understand English at all. He memorized his lines phonetically. He had an affair with Penelope Ann Miller, whom Alfredo invited to be his partner in the film. Miller spoke publicly about their relationship in interviews, but Pacino had an affair with Lyndall Hobbs at the time. In being present with Hobbs at the film premiere, he avoided Penelope Ann Miller.
Now you want to tell me it was for my own good, right?
No, it was for mine. It was for mine, Gail. It was for my own good. Gail, I was doing...
In 1994, at the Venice Film Festival, Al Pacino was awarded the Golden Lion for his contribution to world cinema. We can say that the actor was officially recognized as a great talent of our time. Soon, Pacino met on the set with someone who constantly stepped on his toes. He played in Michael Mann's Heat, where his opponent was Robert De Niro's character. His friend Robert first received the script for the film and showed it to Pacino.
I remember Michael showing me this relatively classic story of a pursuit. I remember thinking when I read it that I thought the part that was right for me was the cop. And so I was happy that he wanted me to play the cop.
And although they already starred together in The Godfather Part 2, they did not have common scenes there. In the new Michael Mann's crime drama, they appeared in one frame and played the role of real rivals. Pacino portrayed veteran Lieutenant Vincent Hanna, investigating a heist of a gang of the professional robber, Neil McCauley, played by De Niro. The film is based on the true story of Neil McCauley, a criminal and former Alcatraz prisoner who was hunted down by Detective Chuck Adamson in 1964. When he was released in 1962, he immediately began planning new heists. He and his accomplices used bolt cutters and drills to rob a diamond drill company. You can see this scene in the film. The detective, on whom Al Pacino's character is largely based, also began following McCauley's team, knowing that he was up to his old ways again. Once, they even met for a coffee, as shown in the film, and their dialogue formed into the script.
Bob said, let's not rehearse. Let's learn it somehow, and at the same time, when we show up, just walk through it a bit, and then shoot it. And it really worked. I think if we would have been working on it, other things might have taken us.
You lose an edge.
Yeah, it was wise.
Especially that we are meeting kind of for the first time. That's important.
De Niro and Pacino decided that for the restaurant scene between them to be believable, it should not be rehearsed. In that way, they were able to better convey the fact that their characters are not familiar with each other. Director Michael Mann filmed the scene with 2 cameras at once, not to miss a second of their improvisations. In general, to make the scenes in the film more realistic, former British Special Air Service Sergeant Andy McNabb was hired as an advisor and technical weapons instructor. He developed a gun training program and spent 3 months teaching the actors how to use live ammunition before firing blanks for the actual take, as well as teaching them how to realistically rob a bank.
Get down.
The appearance of both actors in the film caused great excitement even during the filming. When the film was finally released, even its promotional materials touted the film as a showdown between De Niro and Pacino. Despite not being nominated for major awards, Heat grossed $187 million at the box office and became one of the most influential films in its genre, inspiring several other works. Interestingly, the coffee shop scene was filmed at night in style in Kate Mantilini on Wilshire Boulevard in the Beverly Hills area. After the film's release, this place became a cult. The sign Heat was lit above the entrance. There was also a large poster with Pacino and De Niro from the film near the door. Visitors could order the same table at number 71, which was called The Table. Unfortunately, in 2014, the cafe closed.
Big balloon people, because I found them 2 weeks after they'd been under the bed. The neighbors reported the smell, and there they are, all of them just sitting there.
In parallel with the big movie, in which Al continued to delight the audience with his performance on the screen, a couple of less noticeable films came out. For example, the drama 2 Bits, directed by James Foley, in which Pacino played a minor role, went so unnoticed that it grossed only $26,000 at the box office. In 1996, Pacino starred in the political drama City Hall, directed by Harold Becker. He played New York City Mayor John Pappas, who got embroiled in a scandal over the murder of a boy in a shootout involving a corrupt cop. Marlon Brando also claimed the role. To prepare for the role, Pacino spent time with then New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani and former mayors Ed Koch and David Dinkins. Pacino's performance was well received, although the film was a mediocre critical success and lost at the box office. The same year, the theatrical docudrama Looking for Richard was released, which became Al Pacino's second directorial project. The film presented selected scenes from William Shakespeare's play Richard III and a broader exploration of Shakespeare's continuing role and importance in pop culture.
It'll take us 4 weeks rehearsal just to figure out what parts we're playing. That's what you're... In our more modern plays or plays we have this feeling, we understand it. It's there for us. But in Shakespeare, you know, you have an entire company on the stage, good actors, not knowing where they're going.
Penelope Allen and Harris Yulin, who previously played with Pacino, as well as such stars as Alec Baldwin, Kevin Spacey, and Winona Ryder, joined the cast. The film was shot for 4 years during Al Pacino's free time on set. You can notice it when Al grows his beard and haircut for Carlito's Way. As for the final scene, Pacino literally had no money for it and did not know where to film it. Then director Michael Mann, with whom the actor was working on Heat, assigned part of his team to film the final battle scene, which ended up being filmed in 1 day. The film was well received by critics and viewers and grossed good money for its genre at the box office. Although initially it was not conceived as a documentary at all, Pacino realized it still could not be compared with Laurence Oliver's 1955 film. 1997 was a good year. Pacino appeared in the crime drama Donnie Brasco, based on the true story of an FBI agent who infiltrated the mafia. The film was directed by Mike Newell and based on a true story from the 1988 nonfiction book Donnie Brasco, My Undercover Life in the Mafia by Joseph D. Pistone and Richard Woodley. Pacino's partners in the project were Johnny Depp and Michael Madsen.
What's he doing looking in your mirror?
What are you doing over there, Left? What's it look like I'm doing? Checking my lipstick.
What would I do without you, Left?
Pacino played Lefty Ruggiero, a veteran mafia hitman who took Joseph D. Pistone, calling himself Donnie Brasco, under his wing to win his respect. Pacino was supposed to play the role of Brasco, but switched to Lefty Ruggiero. He liked to use all the rich mafia slang described in the book throughout the film. And for the role of Brasco, he recommended taking Johnny Depp. Joseph D. Pistone was on set as a consultant to both actors and spent several months with Johnny Depp to help him fit into the role. Together, they lifted weights in the hall and practiced shooting with the FBI. Depp, as a method actor, was inspired by Pacino and considered him a great actor.
I've been very lucky in my career to work with people like Al.
And roll, please.
He's a great actor. He's unbelievable. He's also completely out of his mind.
Interestingly, by the beginning of filming, Al Pacino quitted smoking and replaced regular cigarettes with herbal ones. Mike Newell recalled that they smelled terrible. In the end, the film was a huge success. Pacino's performance was again highly acclaimed by critics. They praised his heartbreaking performance in the finale and were also impressed by his duet with Depp. Critics called Johnny's acting sensational. The film performed well at the box office, grossing $125 million with a $35 million budget. During the same period, Pacino met actress and singer Beverly D'Angelo. They began a long-term romantic relationship, during which on January 25, 2001, the couple would have twins, a boy, Anton James Pacino, and a girl, Olivia Pacino. Children were conceived with the help of IVF, even though Beverly and Al did not plan to marry. I had a fantasy that when you have kids, you do it in a family setting. After we'd known each other for 3 months, Al looked me in the eyes and said, "I want you to be the mother of my children." That's all I had to hear. Unfortunately, the romance of the famous duet did not last long. Already in 2003, the relationship completely ended. The former couple had to go through ups and downs during a custody battle, but they ultimately put their differences aside to become as successful parents as possible. Here is how Beverly recalled the breakup. "I got pregnant at 48, delivered 6 weeks after I was 49, and by 51, I was looking at a landscape as a single parent." But the key, she says, is to create a new story and move from what destroyed the relationship to a new co-parenting relationship. The actors managed to accept each other's differences and everything that led to the breakup, and together raised children whom they both madly love. Pacino even moved to California to be closer to the kids. Children rarely appeared in public and mostly remained in the shadow of their parents for the media. Now, Olivia often posts photos of her father on social media and congratulates him on his Father's Day or birthday. We know a little about Anthony's life. Decades later, Al has no regrets about anything that happened in his personal life. Once, in an interview, he admitted how he came to that. "I'll tell you why. Out of mistakes, and I've made plenty. I've learned. Through those mistakes, I've met people, and my life has changed. Mistakes aren't quite mistakes, unless you slip off a roof. Then you can't come back." More lucrative role in the sequel to the successful Speed, and accepted a lower salary from The Devil's Advocate, so the producers could pay the honorarium Al Pacino. When Pacino later found out about that, he donated the entire amount to charity. The film was commercial role. Film critic Roger Ebert wrote, "The satanic character is played by Pacino with relish bordering on glee." In 1999, 2 more successful films with Al Pacino were released. He first played the role of 60 Minutes producer Lowell Bergman in Michael Mann's new film, The Insider. The film was based on a true story, shown in a 60-minute special about Jeffrey Wigand, the whistleblower of the tobacco industry. The issue highlighted the struggle between Wigand and CBS producer Lowell Bergman while defending against Wigand's discredit and suppression. Al Pacino was Mann's only choice for the role of Lowell Bergman. The director wanted the actor to play a character he had never seen in a movie before. During pre-production, Mann and Pacino hung out with reporters from Time Magazine and ABC News, and Pacino himself met with the real Bergman to help him get into character. The role of Jeffrey Wigand went to rising actor Russell Crowe. Director Michael Mann brought the actor from Canada, where he was filming Mystery Alaska, on his day off and made him read the script for 3 hours.
Where do you work?
Did work.
Did work.
How much would I get paid?
The actor liked the story so much that he noticed the essence of the character in the script and finally convinced Mann that he was the best fit for the role. The film accurately screened the events and received a bunch of different nominations and awards, including 7 nominations at the Academy Awards. Surprisingly, there was no nomination for Pacino, and a huge budget for such a film of $70 to $90 million made it a commercial failure, despite the $60 million box office. Another actor's film released that year was this sports drama film directed by Oliver Stone, Any Given Sunday. In addition to Pacino, the project boasted an excellent cast, including Cameron Diaz, Dennis Quaid, Jamie Foxx, and James Woods. Al played the role of Tony D'Amato, the head coach of the Miami Sharks, who had his position for decades and was respected for his great success, faced various difficulties in life.
Believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back.
And again, the first candidates for the role were old friends Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. The latter refused. Pacino particularly enjoyed the character because he found it a refreshing difference from the usual cops and gangsters he constantly had to play. Later in 2007, congratulating Al Pacino at the 35th AFI Life Achievement Award, Jamie Foxx recalled what a great actor and at the same time a simple man Alfredo was on the set of Any Given Sunday.
Pacino, I want to say this. You took me to another place. You made me grow 2 inches. You brought me into your trailer. And when I got a chance to be in that movie with Oliver Stone and all of these big stars and big legends and big egos, you had no ego at all. You brought me into your trailer. You told me stories. We played chess. I let you win because I wanted to hear more stories. And you don't beat your heroes, man. You listen to them. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get out of here. When God made you, he took his time. Then he took a 30-minute break, and he said, that was a good one. Thank you.
In general, his whole speech was quite funny, but according to him, Pacino really taught him different acting techniques, helped to reveal the character, and was an example for him to follow. And if Jamie called him Scarfather at the beginning, then after the project he realized how much Pacino reincarnates in his characters and differs from them in ordinary life. The film received good reviews from critics and grossed just over $100 million at the box office. So in the 1990s, Al Pacino continued to build on his legacy as one of the greatest actors of his generation. His roles of that period were complex and varied and showed his versatility and acting range. But despite his age and the distance, he didn't want to stop. Before we talk about Pacino's life in the new century, you can click on the subscribe button and the bell. New videos about significant personalities from the cinema world and music are regularly released here. Subscribe, and we continue. The 2000s began successfully for Pacino because since then he has won as many as 3 Golden Globes. The new millennium is new opportunities. Al probably then thought, and without slowing down, continued to act. His first project in the 21st century was the independent film drama Chinese Coffee, and it was a project in which he not only starred but also acted as a director. The plot was based on the play of the same name and followed 2 longtime New York friends who struggled to repair the broken relationship after years of mistrust and resentment due to professional and personal failures. It was filmed almost entirely as a one-on-one conversation between the 2 main characters, Pacino and Jerry Orbach, and told about friendship, love, loss, and humor in everyday life.
Sit around here all night because you can't. I'm wiped out. I'm exhausted from being exhausted.
What does it mean when you can't fall asleep?
Severe depression.
The film toured several film festivals and was generally positively received by the audience. In 2007, Pacino released it on the DVD box set titled Pacino, An Actor's Vision. Soon, Al was offered to reprise the role of Michael Corleone in the computer game version of The Godfather, but he declined. As a result, Electronic Arts did not use Pacino's image or voice in the game, although his character appeared in it. But for the game based on the film Scarface, he permitted to use his image and appeared in Scarface: The World Is Yours. Although he did not voice Montana, he chose the actor to voice him. In 2001, Pacino received the Cecil B. DeMille Award for Lifetime Achievement in Film. At the same time, director Christopher Nolan invited the actor to play a neo-noir psychological mystery crime thriller, a remake of the Norwegian film with the same name, Insomnia. Pacino's partners were Robin Williams and Hilary Swank. Not a bad company gathered, given that they were all Oscar winners. Pacino played the role of Los Angeles detective Will Dormer, who was investigating a murder in Nightmute, Alaska.
Oh, what a view. I'm not who you think I am.
No. Walter Finch, lousy writer, lonely freak, murderer.
Al Pacino insisted on careful preparation, serious talk about the motivations of the characters, and a lot of takes, while Robin Williams preferred not to rehearse and to shoot a lot of takes. So Nolan gave Pacino and Williams the freedom to experiment and work together to tune into each other. As a result, the actors got along very well.
I have that voice. Annunziato! Mandalaro Galagisto. No, don't. Arriva pure la gista, è vero. Questa. I'm out of order. You're out of order.
The film was commercially successful and liked by the audience, but it was perhaps Pacino's only successful film in 2002. The satirical science fiction film Simone, directed by Andrew Nicole, was also released that year. The actor played the role of disgraced film director Viktor Taransky. The film was not well received by critics. The same year, he appeared alongside Kim Basinger in the crime drama People I Know, where he played Eli Werman, an aging, burnt-out Jewish publicist whose best days were long past and he wanted to quit his job. But all he knew how to do was manipulate people. The plot weakly attracted the viewer, although Pacino's acting was still on top.
Wrong glasses, Z.
Pacino rarely accepted supporting roles, but in 2003, he appeared in one of the romantic comedy Giggly. The film was directed by Martin Brest, with whom the actor had previously worked, and decided to provide a service. Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez, and Christopher Walken became his partners on the set. The film not only flopped, but received terrible reviews from critics. 9 nominations at the Golden Raspberry Awards and 11 at the Stinkers Bad Movie Awards, and won most of the list. Pacino got off with the nomination. The same year, Pacino played a CIA recruiter in the spy thriller The Recruit. His partner in the film was Colin Farrell, who, in an interview, revealed that during the filming of the scene where he and Pacino's character go to a restaurant, Al Pacino accidentally damaged the car in which they were traveling. These damages were visible in the film, but despite the situation, Farrell spoke of the actor very flattering.
Great fun. It's great fun, and to see Pacino do his thing and be there with him and work with him and get to know him a little bit. And he's a f***ing gem, you know? Great man, and what an actor. Well, you know, I'd look over across the room the odd time and I'd see him kind of mumbling his lines to himself, getting ready, and I'd go, that's fucking Al Pacino, good jeez.
The film also did not please the critics, but at least it grossed at the box office. The following year, Pacino received an Emmy Award for his role in Tony Kushner's miniseries adaptation of the play Angels in America. For the role, Pacino received the Golden Globe Award for Best Performance for an Actor and the Screen Actors Guild Award. At the awarding of the third Golden Globe in his career, Al was nervous, as for the first time,
I don't want to screw the ball off because I'm so nervous. That would be a first. My beautiful daughter Julie just was laughing, the only one laughing at me. It's good. Hi, Jack. You're laughing. You're smiling. I'm just getting started. Now I really lost it.
Shortly thereafter, he once again satisfied his love of Shakespeare by starring in the film version of The Merchant of Venice. Pacino played the role of Shylock. He was praised by critics for bringing compassion and depth to a character traditionally portrayed as a villainous caricature. The European co-production even had a royal premiere in the presence of Prince Charles. But the project was not commercially successful, as was Pacino's next film, Two for the Money. The sports drama, where the actor worked with Matthew McConaughey and Rene Russo, told about the world of sports gambling.
We're all lemons. We look like everybody else, but what makes us different is our defect. You see, most gamblers, when they go to gamble, they go to win. When we go to gamble, we go to lose, subconsciously.
It's hard to say whether Pacino's career went into decline or he was simply unlucky with projects, but he didn't have commercially profitable and memorable films for a long time. But in 2007, the actor still had a little luck and ended up in the star ensemble of Steven Soderbergh's blockbuster Ocean's 13. Pacino played the role of Willie Bank, a casino mogul who swindles Rubin out of his money to develop his hotel called The Bank. His role was insignificant, but quite noticeable, and in addition to him, a list of excellent actors played in the film.
This is a night people will talk about as long as it's in Las Vegas.
Pacino was Soderbergh's first choice for the role. Jerry Weintraub, Pacino's friend, who was a film producer, encouraged him to accept this offer. As a result, it turned out to be a good finale to the trilogy and grossed $311.7 million at the box office. After breaking up with Beverly D'Angelo, the actor was alone for some time. It is worth noting that at different times, Pacino met with many women. Among them were Tuesday Weld, Jill Clayburgh, Martha Keller, Kathleen Quinlan, and Lyndall Hobbs. But the longest relationship of his life began in 2008 with Argentine actress Lucila Pollak. They met in 2005 at a party and remained just friends for a long time. The romance lasted until 2018. During that time, many thought Pacino could decide on a wedding, but the couple broke up, and the reason is still unknown. In 2008, Al Pacino was again nominated for the Golden Raspberry for his lead role in the film 88 Minutes. The film received terrible reviews and succumbed to strong criticism, but not for his acting. Also that year, Pacino reconnected on set with De Niro when they both starred in Righteous Kill.
It's a cop, it's a cop. Where do you come off saying it's a cop, it's a cop, it's a cop?
He's just saying it.
What are you talking about? I was just saying. I know what he's saying.
They portrayed New York City detectives searching for a serial killer, but the picture only doubled Pacino's chances of winning that year's Golden Raspberry. Critics noted that the film could have taken place in the 80s, but not now. Lou Laminick of the New York Post wrote the following. Al Pacino and Robert De Niro collect bloated paychecks with intent to bore in Righteous Kill, a slow-moving, ridiculous police thriller that would have been shipped straight to the remainder bin at Blockbuster if it starred anyone else. 2 nominations for the Golden Raspberry for 2 films in 1 year, albeit without a win, really look like a career decline. Interestingly, the actors are not particularly happy with the film because they never returned to discussing it in their dialogues. But if you think that Pacino would stop and they would no longer play together, then you are wrong. In 2010, Al played the role of Jack Kevorkian in the TV biopic You Don't Know Jack, for which he received his second Emmy Award and fourth Golden Globe. But he still took the Golden Raspberry when he appeared in a cameo in the comedy Jack and Jill the following year. But it was not so much the merit of a talented actor, but the film itself, which snatched a record 12 nominations and won in every category. Pacino also managed to return to the theater and again performed Shylock in the Shakespeare in the Park production The Merchant of Venice, for which he received a second Tony Award nomination for Best Leading Actor in a Play. And later, he took part in the production of Glengarry Glen Ross, dedicated to the 30th anniversary of the play. But at that time, both performances were on Broadway.
Shit! You. Moss, Roma, look at the sheets. Look at the sheets, 1980, 81, 82, 6 months, 82. Who's there? Who's up there?
Roma.
Under him.
Moss.
Bullshit, John. Bullshit.
In 2011, Al Pacino wrote, directed, and acted in the docudrama Wilde Salome, based on Oscar Wilde's 1891 play Salome. Al's partners on the set were Jessica Chastain and Kevin Anderson. Like Pacino's previous movies, it was filmed with his own money. The actor joked that he was stupid and that something was probably wrong with him since he was putting money for the film out of his pocket. Al was very pleased to work with promising aspiring actress Jessica Chastain and fondly recalled the first time he saw her at the audition. She just started reading the script.
So I turned to Robert Fox, who was sitting next to me, and said, "Are we dreaming?" And he said, "No, we're not dreaming." Yeah. And I looked at her and thought, this is an acting prodigy. It was astounding. It was like she was like Marlon Brando or something. I didn't understand it.
The film premiered at the 68th Venice International Film Festival, where Pacino was awarded the Glory to the Filmmaker Award, and the film received the Queer Lion Award. But in the US, the picture was a special success. The premiere took place at the Castro Theater in San Francisco's Castro District, timed to coincide with the 130th anniversary of Oscar Wilde's visit to San Francisco, and was dedicated to a charity fundraiser for the GLBT Historical Society. President Barack Obama awarded Al Pacino the National Medal of Arts. The actor later admitted that it was his most personal project ever.
The 2011 National Medal of Arts to Al Pacino for his iconic contributions to American film and theater as actor and director. Recognized around the world for his signature intensity on the silver screen, Mr. Pacino stands among America's most accomplished artists.
By the way, in 2011, when Pacino spent money on his film, it became known about $188,000 of unpaid taxes. It would seem that a person like Al should regularly pay his bills. As it turned out, his business manager, Kenneth Starr, who also deceived other actors, was to blame. Starr worked with Pacino, Stallone, and Uma Thurman and stole about $30 million from all three. Pacino was acquitted, and Kenneth Starr was sentenced to 90 months in prison. A year later, the actor worked again with David Mamet, appearing in his biographical drama TV film Phil Spector. He portrayed the famous, troubled music producer and received several nominations, including a Golden Globe. After that, he starred in the indie films Manglehorn and Danny Collins, based on a true story. The first one went completely unnoticed, and in the second one, Pacino worked on set with Annette Bening, Jennifer Garner, and Christopher Plummer. The actor played the role of rock star Danny Collins, who is looking for his son after learning about an undelivered letter from John Lennon. It earned him another Golden Globe Award nomination.
Are you in drugs?
Currently or in general?
Currently.
No. Dinner?
You're asking me to dinner?
I think so.
I'm gonna have to decline.
You're not a fan?
Currently or in general?
In general.
No.
But we have good patter.
In 2016, Pacino received the Kennedy Center Honor, an annual award given to members of the performing arts for their lifetime contributions to American culture. As a tribute, it included memories of his former co-stars Sean Penn, Kevin Spacey, Bobby Cannavale, and Chris O'Donnell.
Bobby Cannavale.
I don't think that there's an actor from the last 5 decades who hasn't been influenced by Al Pacino. He is the reason why I was drawn to this profession. And on film, in Danny Collins, I had the outrageous fortune of playing Al's son and ensuring a lifetime of text messages from Al signed Papa.
Already at 75, the actor admitted that looking forward to a porch and a rocking chair, but so far, things keep pulling him back in. That great attitude makes every actor in Hollywood still want to work with him. When you're my age and someone says, "How old are you?" it's like asking me, "How much longer do you have left?" I don't know. I don't think in numbers. So, 2 projects appeared on the screens, the development of which had been going on for many years. In 2018, Pacino appeared in the HBO TV movie Paterno, directed by Barry Levinson. Brian De Palma was originally supposed to direct, but the film was shelved. Then HBO took over and changed the director. Al played the role of Penn State football coach Joe Paterno, who was fired due to a sex scandal. The actor played the role of a football coach for the second time and did an excellent job with it. The second project, the development of which was carried out for almost a decade, was the epic gangster film The Irishman. It was a dream project. It starred his old friends Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci and was directed by Martin Scorsese. By saying old, we don't want to offend anyone, but at the time of creation, they were all over 75, and Pacino was almost 80.
Like most films, they go through a lot of, levels, and this started years ago. I remember sitting with Marty and Bob in a hotel in LA talking about it, and that was like about 5 or 6 years before
it happened. You and I, we walked over, and Marty was in the hotel. We had a meeting.
It was really good. And
they knew that the film would have to come out, but the process of adapting the novel I Heard You Paint Houses by Charles Brandt was delayed and delayed. The difficulties of docking in the schedule and financial issues dragged out the process until Netflix came to the rescue and invested in the project, according to various sources, from $160 to $250 million. The picture was supposed to run for over 200 minutes and immediately became the longest and most expensive project of their career. It was the actor's first collaboration with Scorsese, who had long wanted to make a film with Pacino. I'd been wanting to work with Al for years. Francis Coppola introduced me to him in 1970. Then he's in The Godfather 1 and 2, and he's in The Stratosphere. For me, Al was always something unreachable. We even tried to make a film in the 1980s but couldn't get the financing for it. I said, "What's he like to work with?" Bob said, "Oh, he's great. You'll see." Pacino, Scorsese, De Niro, and everyone else didn't worry about the upcoming difficulties and technical aspects. The film involved technologies for rejuvenating actors through artificial intelligence, since the plot affected several periods of the characters at once.
They're looking at everything I do, and you let this happen in public? You're giving it to him. I'm going to jail. You understand? I'm going to prison. Because of you. You dumb motherfuckers. This is what you wanted. You wanted to put me in jail. Tell me now, so I could kill you. Right here.
The finished film lasted 3.5 hours. Critics were delighted with the film and praised it in every possible way. But the audience perceived it differently and jokingly wondered, what is the best way to watch The Irishman in the form of a series? Where to pause? The box office figures are about 5% of the starting budget, but at the same time, the film can hardly be called a failure. At the 92nd Academy Awards, The Irishman received 10 nominations, including Best Supporting Actor for Pacino, although he didn't pick up a single win. Among the 5 nominations at the 77th Golden Globe Awards, Pacino also found a place, but a younger competitor snatched the victory, with whom, by the way, Alfredo also managed to work that year. He played a supporting role in Quentin Tarantino's comedy drama Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. His partners on the set were Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, and Pacino himself played the role of Marvin Schwartz, the movie agent of DiCaprio's character.
What a picture.
Good picture, yeah.
That is so much fun. All the shooting. I love that stuff, the killing.
The picture was also successful with critics, but the audience was also satisfied, so the film collected a good box office. In February 2020, Pacino played the fictional Nazi hunter Meyer Offerman in the Amazon video series Hunters. For him, the actor again received a Golden Globe nomination. But the more interesting thing about that story is that at the awards ceremony, which was held online due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Al Pacino fell asleep for a short while. Or maybe Al was looking down. The following year, he appeared on the screen in a biographical crime drama film directed by Ridley Scott, House of Gucci. The film also stars Lady Gaga, Adam Driver, Jared Leto, and Salma Hayek. Pacino got the role of Aldo Gucci, the eldest son of Guccio Gucci, who at some point ran the company. The film turned out to be successful, although critics were divided in opinion. Nevertheless, Pacino's performance did not raise questions and was noted as outstanding, as Jared Leto's performance.
Why on this sudden morning? What do you
Because
want?
I'm so sick of you ignoring me.
I am sick of your talking. Sick of it.
You deliberately hurt my feelings.
Yes.
No.
Pacino's latest project is the historical drama American Traitor, The Trial of Axis Sally. There, he played the role of James Laughlin, the attorney who represented Mildred Gillers after she was put on trial for treason during World War II. According to critics, the cast, in addition to Pacino, was incorrigibly terrible, and the film, under the weight of negative ratings, instantly sank into oblivion. In August 2022, work began on a film about Amedeo Modigliani, which is scheduled to shoot in 2023. Pacino is producing it with Johnny Depp and Barry Navidi, and the story is based on the play by Dennis McIntyre, previously adapted for the 2004 film of the same name. We look forward to seeing the relentless Al Pacino on screen again. The actor lives in New York and has a mansion in Beverly Hills. There is a rustic-style white guest house near his home in New York that Pacino recently put up for sale for $3.3 million. The actor's mansion in Beverly Hills was previously owned by the writer Jackie Collins, but interestingly, Al does not own this property, but only rents it. The whole philosophy of Al Pacino is hidden in this one detail. Throughout his lengthy career, he has managed to get 18 Golden Globe nominations with 4 wins, 5 BAFTA nominations with 1 win, and 9 Oscar nominations with 1 win, garnering 7-figure salaries. It seems he has everything he wanted, and at the same time, he wanted to have much less than he could afford. To this day, he remains an example for many young artists whose generations come to the world of cinema to achieve the same result as Al Pacino. Using a rich actor's toolkit in his work, he allowed millions of people to experience the full range of emotions viewing his film. In 2023, he turns 83 years old. But despite everything, Pacino continues to surprise and delight us with his sincere and charismatic smile. Al Pacino can hardly be called an actor of one role. Yeah, he often had to play villains, but they were different. However, there is a whole list of popular actors who have become hostages of one role. Click on the video that appears on your screen and find out who has been playing this same role all their careers, and whether they had a chance to get out of this trap. This concludes our video for today. You can like it to speed up the release of a new video on our channel. Biographer was with you. See you soon.